Let's write a chord progression. We'll do it in the key of G. We'll start with a G, then go to B minor, then E minor, then A minor, and then D. And in terms of the scale degrees, so the G is the 1, the B, which is minor, is the 3, the E, also minor, is the 6, the A minor is the 2, and the D is the 5. And of course it's going to repeat, so 1, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, 3, 6, 2, 5. And notice it has that familiar 2, 5, 1 sequence embedded in it. And we'll jazz up the chords a little bit actually when we play it, right? So here we'll do a D 7th, we'll do A minor 7th, we'll do E minor 7th. For the B, let's do B minor 11th. So that will add the 7th and the 11th. The 11th is the same as the 4. And for the G, we can't really do G 7th. Why? Why? Well, think about a G 7th chord. It has an F, but there is no F natural in the key of G. The key of G has an F sharp. So if we play a G chord with an F sharp, that chord is actually G major 7th. Okay? So that will be the chord that we play there. All right. So before we actually try this on the guitar, we're going to want to improvise over it. So it would be helpful to know what notes make up the chords, all right, so that we can play arpeggios. Rather than name them all, let's think about the main triads, the 1, the 3, and the 5 of each chord, right? So in the case of the G, it's going to be a G, a B is the 3, and a D is the 5. Okay? That's the triad. In the case of the B minor 11th, the triad will consist of the B, and then the flat third will be a D, and then the 5th will be the F sharp. In the case of the E minor chord, the arpeggio would be the E, the G, and the B, the 1, the 3, and the 5 in that chord. In the case of the A minor 7, the 1, 3, and 5 would be A, C, A minor is a C, not a C sharp, right? And E. And then finally, that D is going to have a D, F sharp, and A. All right? So that's a good reference to have in mind if we're going to be noodling with the arpeggios while we play over that progression. Okay, enough talking. Let's try it on the guitar. So I put it down on the loop. Let me play it for you first, and then I'll show you the chord voicings. Okay, so how are we playing that? So for starters, that G major 7th. So take an F shape on the 3rd fret, really an E shape in the cage system, right? The F chord on the 1st fret, G chord on the 3rd fret, but we want to make it a G major 7th. So we've got to introduce an F sharp. So there's the F sharp. So what we'll do is we won't play the 5th string, and we won't play the high E, right? All right, so there's a nice G major 7th. Okay, the second chord, B minor 11th. What the heck is a B minor 11th? Well, if you ever took a guitar and just strummed the open strings, you're playing an E minor 11th. Why? Well, let's look at that G major chord, F, E shape. Move that F back down, index finger crosses over the nut. You're playing an E major chord, right? If you want to make it E minor, lift the middle finger. If you want to make it E minor 7th, lift your pinky. So now all you have is the ring finger on that B on the 5th fret. If you lift that ring finger, you're introducing an A into the chord. And the A is the 4th note in the E scale, E, F, G, A, which means it's also the 11th. So E minor 7th, 11th, E minor 11th, because it starts with the E in the root. If we did it on the 1st fret, F minor 11th, F sharp minor 11th, G minor 11th. So up here on the 7th fret, there's our B minor 11th. And that's how I played it in the loop. And this sets me up for the 3rd chord in the progression, which is the E minor 7th. All right, so we're just taking the A shape, minor 7th, right? And then we need to play an A minor 7th, which we can do here, once again with the trusty E shape, minor 7th, right? Now we don't lift that ring finger, we leave it down. And then finally, the last chord in the progression, the D7th, we go back to the A shape again, and just make it a 7th, okay? Now, what does that 7th want to do? What does that D7th want to do now? That is the 5 chord in the G scale. And what does the 5 chord want to do? It wants to resolve to the 1, right? Which gets us back to the G. Remember I mentioned that it has that 2-5-1 as part of the progression, right? Which was A minor, D, G, right? And that kind of wraps it up. But then of course it repeats because that G is starting the progression over again. So we get a nice loop. All right, so what are the kinds of things we can do over this loop? Well, pentatonic, of course. We'll do G major pentatonic, which is the same as E minor pentatonic. Also the full G diatonic scale. We talked about the arpeggios. Let me show you some arpeggio positions here. We had a couple chords up here, so let's start up here, right? There's a G note right here, and you can take a D shape and make a G chord. So there's an arpeggio for the 1st chord, the G. That B minor 11th, remember it was just a bar on that whole 7th fret. So again, with those top 3 strings, there's an arpeggio for the B minor. So we have G, B minor. The next chord was the E minor 7th, so the arpeggio for those 3 strings, right there, there's the E minor. Then we go to an A minor, which is here, because it's part of that E minor shape on the 5th fret. And then finally, the D7th, which if we were going to play the full D, so we have the 1 and 3 and the 5 for that D chord, right? So once again, those 5 arpeggios okay? So, if we want to do a little arpeggio work over the chord progression, we could do it all right around here. So let's try a few of those things. Okay, I had to plug in my phone. All right, let's start with the G major pentatonic scale, same as the E minor, right? I cheated a little, threw in a couple extra notes, so let's switch to the full G major diatonic, right?